All right, welcome back to Business Today. As I told you before we went for the break, that there's something called worker cooperatives. How exactly do they work? Since today we're focusing on cooperatives. Now, Global Communities is implementing the cooperatives leadership engagement, advocacy and research, acronymed CLEAR program, in partnership with the USAID Bureau of Economic Growth, Education and Environment to stimulate an inclusive, broad-based economic growth through support of the cooperative sector. CLEAR's key focus is on promoting youth and women's socio-economic empowerment through the cooperative business model by tapping into existing opportunities in the service industry. I'm joined by Mike Kipngeno, who is the Global Communities Cooperative Finance Officer. And Mike, I mean, when we talk about cooperatives, it's quite an interesting twist with what you guys are dealing with. Because we know the traditional cooperatives, which we've discussed the better part of part one, you know, the Mwalimu Saccos. You guys are talking about worker cooperatives. What are these?
So essentially what differentiates between a worker cooperative and the conventional cooperatives we are used to is where now the workers themselves, who are the owners of the business, work within the business and setup itself. So that's now differentiated, unlike the conventional cooperatives that we are used to, whereby members only subscribe to shares and at the end of the year wait for dividends.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. So I'm thinking, first of all, I think it's good to understand where this is coming from, this CLEAR program. What is it all about? What's the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so the key focus for the CLEAR program is that it's focus on youth and women cooperative business enterprises, tapping into the existing business opportunities in the service sector. That's now where we come up with the service or worker cooperatives, leveraging into the opportunities in the service sectors.
The choice for going to service sector, was it intentional? What motivated that? And are there not other sectors that you can also go into?
So basically, you find that this particular cooperative business model is new in our local jurisdiction. As I mentioned earlier, that we are used to the conventional SACCOs, agricultural cooperatives, which are the producer cooperatives, marketing cooperatives. But looking at the service sector, basically this model applies. And if this worker or the service cooperative business model can be leveraged on, it can be able to address the issue of unemployment. Case in example, some of the sectors where this particular cooperative business model is applicable is talk of the building and construction industry, where fundis or artisans can come together and form a business unit, a worker cooperative business unit, which brings together different trades within the building and construction and do a business and source for a business as a unit and not a freelance fundi, whom we've known to go and look for a job with no assurance of sustainability of coming next day and finding that particular job.
Yeah, and you've been saying buildings go down, yeah?
Exactly. The aspect also of the quality workmanship. In fact, we have one of the worker cooperatives under our current portfolio of worker cooperatives being supported by the program. That's Funditech, a service cooperative, which the primary goal, or rather the quality workmanship aspect comes in, whereby they provide guarantee for the quality workmanship. We've heard of stories, buildings are coming down. That aspect of quality workmanship.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, from the corporate world, because essentially these worker cooperatives are business units that you go out there and you look for business, try to solve challenges in the service sectors you focus on right now. I'm thinking, why is this idea not that popular in the country?
Initially, looking at even the legislative framework that currently exists, you find that initially where maybe individuals go and want to register a worker cooperative, they are told you have to register as a marketing or a SACCO for that case, because of the legislative framework. But thanks to the new reforms that are coming in place with the current cooperative bill, which recognizes worker cooperative as part of cooperatives that can be registered here in Kenya. So initially, the idea of worker cooperatives was not that out there, but going forward, looking at also now the establishment of the Ministry of Cooperative and SME Development, now focus on the cooperative development and MSMEs. So.
All right. So that's just one of the challenges. First of all, there was the legislative challenge that is at least being solved in the moment. What other barriers have been there, especially with the project that you've been running and helping to establish these worker cooperatives? What barriers have you had to overcome?
Another challenge is the youth being able to look at the service industry as a potential to do business in. I've mentioned about a typical example of a freelance fundi who is known for just waking up in the morning, getting together his or her tools and going out for a place where there is a construction. But you see, for them, there was a knowledge gap for them to understand that they can come together, form a social business enterprise, for this case a worker cooperative business model, for them to actualize their dreams, looking at a decent work environment and also sustainability in terms of the job. So another aspect, or rather the other challenge that existed was on the knowledge gap that existed within the cooperative business framework. Yeah.
Okay. So people come together, they form a cooperative. The primary focus is that we make money. Yeah, we need to feed our families. Are there also other motives? Because the traditional cooperatives that we know, it's a saving tool and a credit tool. These worker cooperatives, what is the framework? What are the benefits accrued to the members?
Aside from the economic aspect, that primarily the reason why we form businesses, the other aspect is on the social aspect. Going to the definition of what a cooperative is, even before we narrow down to now the worker cooperative. The ICA definition of a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily in order to meet their social, economic, cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. So there's that aspect of
wait a minute, that is a dictionary definition. you need to simplify that, but there is that social aspect.
There's the social aspect.
Yes.
We are looking at. It's not only a matter of getting the economic justice that we want to achieve at the end of the day, but the social aspect that we want to look at it. Social aspect in the sense that when you come together, there are some of the social, I'll still use the case example of a construction industry. This is what we call the insurance that you need to be covered in. So once you come together, you're able to pool resources and be able to take an insurance cover as a unit. There's also the aspect of retirement or the pension fund. You can get into a pension fund. That aspect of the social aspect now that brings in, and not only the economic aspect that we are looking at it as a business enterprise. So,
okay. That's quite interesting. So and right now, actually, the discussion around social security is quite vibrant.
Absolutely.
I've seen you guys have been instrumental through the CLEAR program. You've established quite a number of these worker cooperatives. You've talked about the fundis, which is very important. Maybe mention for us some of the other, worker cooperatives that you formed and what solutions are they offering?
Absolutely. Other examples of the sectors where this model we've been able to venture into is on the waste management. We have a very interesting group by the name Kigro Recyclers, who are in the waste management. They do garbage collection and recycling as a business enterprise. So they transitioned from being a CBO, community-based organization, whereby they were not able to actually do a business. But now when they converted to become a worker cooperative, these are business enterprises that they are now even able to source for tenders and job opportunities as a business enterprises. The other sectors where we've been able, through some of our partner cooperatives, is on the renewable energy. The solar renewable energy is one of the worker cooperative by WISE, Women in Solar Energy Entrepreneurs, who are in the solar and renewable energy. They're quite doing well, having partners and projects across the country, and even trying to explore opportunities in the East African region.
Okay.
Other sectors like the Juakali, we have the new kid in the block, that's Sultan Ahmud Juakali Cooperative, also in the service sector. So
wow.
Also something to mention is that Global Communities Clear program prides itself as being a pioneer non-governmental organization to introduce the worker cooperative model to the Kenya context.
Definitely. It's very important to shout yourself out. I think that's one thing that corporates, I love the pride that corporate people have. They always have to, to give credit where it's due, and it's very important. Now, somebody's watching right now. They're seated, yeah? They're watching, okay, so we have a group, I have a group of my friends here, and this is what we do. Every morning we leave to go for a hustle. So you mean we can organize ourselves and form a worker cooperative? First of all, what do I need to do? Do I have to have a minimum amount of people? Yeah, how many of us can gang up together and say, and start the process? Walk somebody, people who are a number, how can they achieve and reach the level of forming a worker cooperative?
Yeah, so basically I start that by enumerating the requirements, or rather what you require to start a cooperative and work a cooperative for this case. First is thanks to the partnership through Global Communities, FSD Kenya, and State Department of Cooperatives, where earlier during the year, we were able to partner and come up with model bylaws for worker cooperatives. And I mentioned that it's now recognized as one of the primary cooperatives that can be registered. What you require to form a cooperative, a worker cooperative for this case, is a minimum of 10 persons for you to form a cooperative. So that's one of the requirements. Secondly, you need to identify which area of focus you're focused on. I mentioned different sectors which this particular cooperative business model is applicable. So once you're able to come together in a minimum of 10 individuals and identify what specifically you want to do as a business enterprise, through the county cooperative department, we have the sub-county cooperative officers which you can approach and guide you through the registration process, take you through the pre-cooperative training, the registration process, and the post-cooperative training. Now you told about what are some of the legal governing rules and regulation to operate as a cooperative business enterprises. Thanks to the government that there is the support and existing framework that the government provides for the registration of cooperatives as a business enterprise.
So at the sub-county level, you can get help. Once you organize a minimum of 10 people and you have your mind together on solving a particular solution.
Exactly.
Ah, that's quite interesting. I know through the CLEAR program, it was running between here and
2018 to 2023. So we are towards the sunsetting days for the program. So we are happy that currently within the portfolio of our cooperative, we have 9 worker cooperatives that we're currently supporting as a program.
Okay, so what's the expectation once 2023 hits? Is it something that can be renewed and say, oh, you have 9, you can carry maybe an additional 5?
So basically what we've been doing during the program implementation is looking at also the post-program intervention phase, whereby we've been able to partner with different development partners and also national government and also the county government.
Okay.
Just trying to ensure that once the program comes to an end, they're able to continue with the support, the different technical assistance they've been receiving from the program. So we also look, and also through the support, we've been able also through the program to transfer some of the skills that these groups can be able to leverage on past the program intervention. Yeah.
Okay.
So we prepare them well past the program intervention.
Post-program interventions.
Absolutely.
You know, you're talking about worker cooperatives, and in my mind also MSMEs ring a very huge bell, telling me, hey, majority of them don't survive past 5 years. Yeah. So in terms of survivability of the 9 worker cooperatives, and this model, of course, from this conversation, a lot of people are going to pick it up and form groups and go to the sub-county. In terms of setting the foundations for a successful worker cooperatives, what do you have, what are some of those pieces of that foundation?
Our research has shown that startup businesses, a good percentage of them do not go past 3-year mark. But comparing those businesses and the cooperative businesses, majority of them are able to move past that 3 years period where majority of startup businesses go. So leveraging on the cooperative business model, there's a higher chance for that businesses surviving past. Looking at it from the aspect of where people or individuals come together, they're able to pool resources. And with a cooperative business model, you can attract government support, development partners, you can be able to get support from different sectors. So looking at the cooperative business model, it's the way to go, and a new dawn in terms of economic recovery, looking at even the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. Yeah.
Definitely. A new dawn indeed. And talking about dawns, what team are you supporting in World Cup? So I know if it's Argentina, I start, saying, my friend, you'll survive. I know Saudi Arabia has beaten you. What team are you supporting?
For the World Cup, I support Argentina.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. But there is healing on the way. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. That has been quite, an enlightening conversation on matters worker cooperatives, and I think it's something that Kenyans we can take up and work together to build ourselves economically and our country at large. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. So there you have it. What a conversation on worker cooperatives in Kenya. And that has been Mike Ipngeno, who is the Global Communities Cooperative Finance Officer. Well, I want to ask you